The internet is alive this morning with conspiracy theories and debate over this photograph here. Released on the official Prince and Princess of Wales Instagram account and as an officially released photograph, there's debate across a wide spectrum. On one end, some people saying this is completely fake, it's generated by AI, raising questions as to what's really going on, through more sensible suggestions that it might have been photoshopped in some way, and on the other end of the spectrum, people saying that that's complete rubbish and there's nothing wrong with it, and all of those suggestions are crazy. But hopefully I can provide some clarity in this video and as to why it's been reported in the first place. Which is a little bit ironic, because many news agencies have now withdrawn the photograph, issuing what they call a picture kill notice, or a kill notice for short, to say that this photograph is no longer to be used in their official reporting because it doesn't meet editorial guidelines. So cutting to the chase, it's been withdrawn because there's a suggestion that there's been manipulation by the use of Photoshop or similar in the photograph. Nothing much more than that, but we'll go through and I'll give you my views as to the reasons people have raised this question in the first place. So as it's explained here in the Thomson Reuters article, Princess Charlotte's cardigan did not line up properly, suggesting that the image has been altered. And Reuters said it could not immediately establish how, why, or by whom the alteration has been made. Spoiler alert, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has already said, as reported by the BBC, that she apologises for any confusion and that she does occasionally experiment with editing, like many amateur photographers. But the news is still news. And Reuters here says that they have a handbook of journalism which says, for example, Photoshop tools can only be used in very limited circumstances where they use a tiny part of the potential capability to format pictures, crop, size, and balance tone and colour. But let's look at why this photograph has been debated in the first place. Now, the main suggestion of manipulation has come from Princess Charlotte's cardigan here. Some people say that this is nonsense and that there's no manipulation, and other people have said that they must be blind if they can't see it. I wouldn't be quite as rude as that, but I would agree that this is quite obviously been manipulated in some sense or another. You can see here the edge of the sleeve going around and continues around to this point here onto the hand, and the bit that overlaps has somehow been manipulated from the colour of the skirt here. So in my view, that has definitely been manipulated somehow. Another argument has been that Princess Catherine has not been wearing her wedding ring in this photograph, and the rebuttal to that is that many people don't wear their wedding ring for a number of reasons, and one is quite feasibly after you've had medical surgery, that you wouldn't wear it for some period of time in case of swelling and so on. So I don't think there's any merit in that argument either. I think that is pure conspiracy theory. Another one is when you zoom out, you look at the wider angle of the cardigan meeting the skirt here. On the right-hand side of the photograph, left-hand side for Princess Charlotte, it is outside of the skirt. On the other side, it is tucked in. I don't think that's particularly interesting, and I don't think that's particularly strange. I'm no fashionista, but I know that some people do that. They tuck it in at some part, and it's out at others. I don't think that's very strange at all, to be perfectly honest. There's two parts of this section of the photograph people have questioned. One is saying that the pattern on the sleeve here is out of line, and therefore it suggests that it's AI or manipulated. I don't buy that. I just think that's the way the pattern comes out. I don't really have patterned clothing myself, but I've seen certain patterned items and garments that have distortions around the pattern, so I don't think that's particularly interesting. The one thing I found that did have some merit to it, although it's relatively easily explained, is the blur lines in the fingers of Princess Catherine here. Because if the rest of the photograph is in focus, or this section is in focus, then why would the fingers be moving? Particularly if you've got a high-speed shutter that would freeze any movement, and therefore it wouldn't look like it's moving, even if it is, and this is frame rate and everything else. But if this was taken by Prince William, perhaps on a phone, I'm guessing it's taken by a phone, and that will become important later, but perhaps that is just why there is some movement in the fingers. But again, I don't find that particularly interesting and doesn't really suggest to me that this is created by AI. I've seen photographs created by AI and they end up with 6 or 7 fingers and all sorts of stuff. So I don't think that is a suggestion that this is AI. Another argument has been this one here, which I find quite comical, because in the fingers here, some people saying there's no way anyone can do this. So I obviously had to try this myself. Now, this is the middle finger wrapped over the next finger next to it, and the little finger coming down alongside it, and he's leaning on the middle finger. So I can do that. Excuse the obvious injury to my finger here, but if I can do that, then I'm sure a child can do that whilst having fun and keeping themselves occupied. So I don't think that's particularly suggestive that it's been manipulated by AI, and so I don't buy that either. Another suggestion has been on the shoe here, with on this shoe behind the chair leg here, the upper one. Some people have said this is a heel, and therefore, and there's no heel on the bottom shoe. Now, at first blush, I thought, yes, that looks a bit strange. But then when you look a little bit more closely, you can see that at the top part of this, or the middle part of this shoe here, it looks like a buckle. And obviously when you look down at the bottom one, yes, there's a buckle here too. But this looks to me more like a tassel hanging down from the buckle and hanging down over here, with giving the optical illusion that it's a heel underneath the shoe. But if you look at this color here, actually matches this color down here. So actually this looks to me more like a tassel than it does a heel on the shoe. And if you look at this section here, the tassel would be hidden behind the leg of the chair, conveniently or inconveniently, making it look like this one doesn't have a heel and this one does. Either way, my conclusion is I don't buy that this is a heel. I think that is a tassel, and therefore nothing strange in that whatsoever. And so ultimately, I don't think there's anything really strange about this photograph at all, apart from the fact that this is quite clearly been edited here for reasons I'm not aware of. But as I say, the report has been made by the BBC that Princess Catherine has apologised for any confusion, saying that she likes to experiment with editing and so on. Now, the reason I mentioned the phone might be important is some phones have AI capabilities built in, as many of you well know, because you will use them. It's marketed to you. And so many people will take photographs, 5 or 6 photographs, and let's say on one photograph someone's looking away or blinking or whatever, and it will use the face of many different photographs put together to make one photograph where everyone is looking at the camera, everyone is smiling, everyone is happy, and it's the best of all of the photographs taken, just for those that are not aware of that. So that is entirely plausible, and again, it's manipulation. It may not meet the editorial guidelines of some of these news outlets, but that is a very plausible explanation as to why some people may feel that it doesn't look quite right. And certainly with that sleeve, obviously there's some editing going on there. But as I say, the official word from Princess Catherine is that, like many amateur photographers, she occasionally experiments with editing. And after all, this was posted on social media and has then been picked up by the press, but then dropped by the press because there's some suggestion of editing there. So ironically, by reporting that this is not to be used in reporting has caused more reporting on the reporting on the reporting on the reporting, and the conspiracy theories have gone wild. My conclusion is that this has been blown out of all proportion. There's nothing particularly wrong. It doesn't look to me like it's been manipulated by AI any more than just replacing, if anything, by replacing a face that is smiling on the best of 6 or whatever they call it. I do know that with Google's Pixel 8, this is not an endorsed video, but I do know that with the Pixel 8, you can use these AI features to use the best of a number of photographs where everyone is smiling, everyone is looking at the camera. And when I've seen that, it does look a little bit strange because this just your intuition about it just says it's not quite right. But in a hurry, it just makes the photograph look better than it might otherwise. But in my view, that is the extent and the only extent as to what's happened here. I don't think there's anything beyond that, and any criticism I think is unwarranted, and everybody should just wish them well, and that be that. But of course, leave me your thoughts and comments in the box below. Please do remember to subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.